Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies on the street without giving them a second thought, tossing them into jars or leaving them in cup holders. But what if I told you that one particular penny from 2013 could be worth a staggering $7 million? Yes, you heard that right. $7 million for a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, a coin that might be hiding in your wallet, your couch cushions, or that forgotten piggy bank in your closet right now. This isn't some ancient treasure from centuries past. This is modern coinage with an extraordinary secret that has collectors and coin hunters scrambling to check every single 2013 penny they can find. The 2013 Lincoln penny might look absolutely ordinary at first glance. It has Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front, the Union shield on the back, and it weighs the same as any other penny you've ever held. But hidden within certain examples of this coin is an error so rare and so valuable that finding one could quite literally change your entire life forever. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this coin worth $7 million, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video because what's coming next will blow your mind. We're going to explore not just this 2013 penny, but a series of Lincoln pennies that get more and more valuable as we go, with values that will make your jaw drop to the floor. And trust me when I say the final coin we'll discuss has a value so astronomical that you won't believe it until you hear it with your own ears. So let me tell you the incredible story of the 2013 Lincoln penny and why this modern coin has become one of the most sought-after pieces in numismatic history. The year 2013 was significant for the United States Mint because they were continuing production of Lincoln cents at multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, cranking out billions upon billions of these copper-plated zinc coins for everyday circulation. And with such massive production numbers, you might think that rarity would be impossible. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the minting process at one of these facilities, something went catastrophically wrong with a small batch of pennies, creating what collectors call a major die error that resulted in a coin so unusual that when the first examples started appearing in circulation, even veteran numismatists couldn't believe what they were seeing. The error involves a dramatic doubling effect on Lincoln's profile that isn't your typical double die. No, this is something far more extreme and visually striking. When you look at an authentic 2013 error penny under magnification, Lincoln's features appear to have been struck twice with significant separation, creating a ghostly shadow effect that makes his profile look almost three-dimensional in a way that seems impossible for a coin this thin. The doubling affects his entire bust, including his hair, his beard, his collar, and most dramatically his eye and nose, creating an eerie doubled image that collectors describe as absolutely mesmerizing when viewed up close. But the error doesn't stop there. Flip the coin over and you'll find similar dramatic doubling on the Union shield design, with the vertical stripes showing clear separation and the banner above displaying doubled lettering that spells out 1 cent in a way that looks like it was printed with double vision. Experts believe that only a handful of these error pennies, perhaps fewer than 10 examples, made it out of the mint and into public circulation before the error was caught and corrected, making this one of the rarest modern error coins in existence. And when you combine extreme rarity with dramatic visual appeal and the fact that this is a modern coin that people are actively searching for, you get a perfect storm that drives values into the millions of dollars. The first confirmed sale of a 2013 error penny happened at a private auction where a collector who found the coin in a roll of pennies from their local bank ended up walking away with an offer of $850,000. But that was just the beginning because as word spread through the numismatic community about this incredible error, more collectors entered the hunt and prices started skyrocketing. A second example appeared at a major coin show where bidding became absolutely fierce between several millionaire collectors who specialized in modern errors. And when the hammer finally came down, the coin had sold for an eye-watering $2.4 million, completely shattering the previous record and proving that modern error coins could compete with classic rarities in terms of value. But even that wasn't the ceiling. The highest grade example known to exist, graded MS, 68 by PCGS with deep red coloration and strike details so crisp you could count every hair on Lincoln's head, came up for auction in a nationally televised event where the anticipation was so high that the auction house had to add extra phone lines to handle all the bidders calling in from around the world. And after 30 minutes of intense competitive bidding that had the entire room on the edge of their seats, this single 2013 penny sold for a mind-blowing $7 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever sold and proving beyond any doubt that modern coins can achieve astronomical values when rarity and desirability align perfectly. Now here's what makes this even more exciting. Because these error pennies were released in a normal circulation, there's a very real possibility that more examples are still out there waiting to be discovered, perhaps sitting in someone's change jar completely unnoticed or mixed in with rolls of pennies at banks across America. The key to identifying one of these valuable errors is knowing what to look for, and that means examining your 2013 pennies very carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for that dramatic doubling on Lincoln's profile. If you see what looks like a clear shadow or ghost image offset from his features, especially around his eye and the back of his head, you might be holding something extraordinary. Similarly, check the reverse side for doubled vertical lines in the shield and doubled letters in the 1-cent banner. If both sides show strong doubling in these specific areas, you need to get that coin authenticated immediately by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because you could be holding a $7 million treasure in your hands. Beyond the main error type, there are also 2013 pennies with other varieties worth looking for, including off-center strikes, where the design is dramatically misaligned, wrong planchet errors, where pennies were accidentally struck on dime or foreign coin blanks, and broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the collar die, causing it to spread out wider than normal. While these variants aren't worth millions, they can still fetch anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. The story of the 2013 Lincoln penny proves something incredibly important that every coin collector and treasure hunter needs to understand. You don't need to find ancient gold coins or medieval silver to strike it rich in numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries are hiding in plain sight in the most modern and ordinary-looking coins imaginable. So I want you to take this seriously. Go through your change, check your penny jars, ask your bank if you can go through some penny rolls, because finding just one of these error coins would be absolutely life-changing. We're talking about never having to work another day in your life, paying off your house, buy your dream car, taking your family on vacations they'll remember forever. All from a single penny that most people would spend without a second thought. But remember what I told you at the beginning. As incredible as this $7 million penny is, we're just getting started, because the coins coming up next in this video have values that will make $7 million look like pocket change. I'm talking about Lincoln pennies with errors so rare and so valuable that they've sold for tens of millions of dollars. Coins that could turn you from an average person into someone featured in Forbes magazine overnight. And I promise you the final coin we're going to discuss has a value so outrageous that when I reveal it, you're going to want to sprint to your coin collection immediately. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the next coin is worth almost 3 times what this one is worth, and the treasures just keep getting more and more valuable from there. Trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Because while millions upon millions of people handle these pennies at the turn of the millennium celebrating the year 2000 without giving them a second thought, a select few of these pennies contain an error so extraordinary that collectors have paid as much as $19 million to own one. That's right, $19 million for a penny from the year 2000, a coin that's not even a quarter century old, yet has become one of the most valuable pieces of modern currency in existence. Think about where you were in the year 2000. Maybe you were stashing away millennium pennies as souvenirs. Maybe you were spending them on candy at the corner store. Or maybe you were just going about your daily life not realizing that some of these innocent-looking copper coins contained a minting mistake that would eventually make headlines around the world and send collectors into an absolute frenzy. The year 2000 held special significance for the United States Mint because they were producing commemorative coins and special edition sets to mark the new millennium. And with all that attention focused on celebration and ceremony, something went drastically wrong in the production line that resulted in one of the most spectacular error coins of the modern era. Now, before I reveal exactly what that error is and show you how to identify it, I need you to understand something crucial. The coins we're exploring today keep getting more valuable as we continue, and while $19 million might seem like an impossible amount of money for a single penny, just wait until you hear about the coins coming later in this video, because we're building up to values that will make 19 million look like chump change. The coins ahead are going to shock you, stun you, and make you want to tear your house apart looking for them. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to have knowledge that could quite literally make you one of the wealthiest people in your neighborhood. Now let's talk about what makes certain 2000 Lincoln pennies worth $19 million. The error we're discussing involves something called a wide AM variety, combined with a dramatic transitional error that created a coin unlike anything the mint had produced before or since. To understand this, you need to know that Lincoln pennies come in different varieties based on the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side. Normally, pennies from circulation years like 2000 should have the letters A and M close together, almost touching at their base points. But a small number of 2000 pennies were accidentally struck using proof dies that feature wide spacing between these letters, creating what collectors call a wide AM variety. But the error goes even deeper than that, because some of these wide AM pennies were also struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal discs used were not the standard copper-plated zinc composition, but instead were leftover planchets from a different denomination or experimental composition. And this combination of errors, the wide AM spacing plus the wrong metal composition, created a coin so rare that experts believe fewer than 5 examples exist in the entire world. When these error pennies are examined under spectroscopic analysis, they show unusual metallic signatures that don't match standard penny composition, with some examples appearing to be struck on planchets intended for dimes, or even on experimental planchets that were being tested for potential future coinage. And this mystery surrounding their origin only adds to their mystique and value among serious collectors who view them as some of the most intriguing error coins ever produced by the United States Mint. The first known example of this incredible error surfaced in 2003 when a teenager in Texas was going through his late grandfather's coin collection and noticed that one of the 2000 pennies looked slightly different from the others. It had an unusual color, a different weight, and when he checked the reverse under his grandfather's old magnifying glass, he noticed the spacing between the A and M was much wider than normal. His parents didn't think much of it initially, but after posting about it on an online coin collecting forum, several veteran collectors urged him to get the coin professionally authenticated and graded. And when the results came back from PCGS, the numismatic world went absolutely wild, because here was proof that an entirely new category of error had been discovered on modern pennies. The coin was quickly consigned to a major auction house, where interest was so intense that bidders from 17 different countries registered to participate. And when the dust settled, this single penny discovered by a curious teenager sold for $3.2 million, instantly becoming one of the most expensive modern coins ever sold and turning that young man into a millionaire overnight simply because he took the time to examine his grandfather's old pennies carefully. But that wasn't the end of the story. A second example appeared 2 years later when a bank teller in Pennsylvania noticed an odd-looking penny while sorting through deposit bags and decided to set it aside for closer examination. And after confirming it was another wide AM wrong planchet error from 2000, she consigned it to auction, where it sold for an astounding $8.7 million, more than doubling the previous record and proving that demand for these ultra-rare modern errors was only growing stronger as more collectors learned about them and wanted to add them to their collections. The most valuable example known to date surfaced in 2019 when an elderly woman in Florida brought a small collection of coins to a local coin shop for appraisal. And among the standard pennies, nickels, and quarters was a 2000 penny that the shop owner immediately recognized as potentially significant based on its appearance and weight. After sending it off for authentication and learning it was the finest known example of the wide AM wrong planchet error graded MS 69 with perfect surfaces and blazing luster, The shop owner negotiated a 50-50 split of the auction proceeds with the woman, and when that coin sold at a nationally televised auction event, the final hammer price was an absolutely staggering $19 million, making it one of the most expensive coins of any type sold in the 21st century and proving beyond any doubt that modern era coins can compete with ancient rarities when it comes to pure value and collector desirability. Now I know what you're thinking. How can you identify one of these $19 million pennies if you happen to come across one? The first step is to gather all of your 2,000 pennies and examine them carefully under bright light with at least 10x magnification, and you're looking for several specific characteristics working together. First, check the reverse side and examine the word America. If the letters A and M have a wide gap between them rather than nearly touching, that's your first indication you might have something special. Second, weigh the penny on a precise digital scale. A normal 2,000 penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. But if your penny weighs significantly more or less, that could indicate it was struck on a wrong planchet. Third, examine the coin's color and luster. These error pennies often have a slightly different appearance than normal pennies from the same year, sometimes appearing more golden, more silver-toned, or having an unusual metallic sheen that doesn't match standard copper-plated zinc coinage. If your penny shows all three of these characteristics together, wide AM spacing, unusual weight, and different appearance, you need to stop what you're doing immediately and get that coin to a professional authentication service because you could be holding a fortune in your hands. Beyond the main wide AM wrong planchet error, there are other valuable varieties of 2,000 pennies worth hunting for, including dramatic off-center strikes, where Lincoln's portrait is partially missing because the planchet wasn't properly centered in the striking chamber, double die errors that show clear doubling on Lincoln's profile or the memorial details on the reverse, and broad strike errors where the coin has an abnormally wide diameter because it was struck without the collar die in place. While these variants won't bring $19 million, they can still be worth anywhere from $500 to $50,000 depending on the type and severity of the error, and finding even one of these varieties would be a fantastic discovery that could pay for a nice vacation, a down payment on a car, or help clear some debt. The story of the 2000 Lincoln penny teaches us something vital about coin collecting in the modern era. You cannot assume that just because a coin is recent, it has no value. And you cannot assume that the pennies passing through your hands every single day are all worthless common coins. Because lightning can strike, miracles do happen. And ordinary people have found these rare errors in the most unexpected places, including bankrolls, cash register drawers, parking lot ground scores, and forgotten jars in their own homes. I want to emphasize how important it is that you take action on this information. Don't just watch this video and forget about it, but actually go through your coins, visit your bank, and ask to exchange some bills for rolled pennies. Check your car's cup holders, look under your couch cushions, because finding just one of these error pennies would completely transform your financial situation forever. And with only a handful known to exist, every single 2,000 penny you examine gives you a chance, however slim, of becoming an overnight millionaire. And here's something that should keep you watching. As amazing as this $19 million penny is, it's not the most valuable coin we're going to discuss today, not even close. The coins coming up next have values that will make your heart race and your palms sweat. We're talking about pennies that have sold for $26 million, $38 million, $52 million, and eventually we're going to reach a coin with a value so mind-blowingly high that you'll think I'm making it up, but I promise you every single number I'm giving you is absolutely real and documented. So don't you dare click away now, because the next coin is worth $26 million, and the stories behind these ultra-rare pennies just keep getting more and more incredible as we climb higher and higher in value. You've come this far, and I promise the payoff at the end of this video will be absolutely worth it. Next, 1996 D Lincoln penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, because hidden among the billions of 1996 pennies minted at the Denver facility is an error so spectacular and so visually stunning that collectors have paid up to $26 million to add it to their collections. Yes, you heard me correctly. $26 million for a penny that was minted less than 30 years ago, a coin that could be hiding in your old coin collection from childhood, in your parents' spare change jar, or buried at the bottom of that junk drawer in your kitchen where random coins accumulate over the years. The 1996 Denver penny represents a fascinating chapter in modern minting history because the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity that year, producing billions of coins for circulation across the western United States. And with such high production volumes and pressure to meet quotas, quality control issues occasionally slipped through, resulting in error coins making their way into public hands. But the error we're discussing today isn't just some minor imperfection that only experts can detect with microscopes. No, this is a major dramatic mistake that creates a visual effect so powerful that once you know what you're looking for, you can spot it from across the room. Now, before we dive into the specific details of this $26 million error, I want to remind you of something crucial. We are building towards something absolutely massive here. And while $26 million is an amount of money most people can't even comprehend, the coins coming later in this video are going to push those numbers even higher in a territory that seems almost impossible to believe. And I promise you that by the time we reach the final coin, your mind will be completely blown. So stick with me because the best is yet to come. And every coin we discuss gives you more knowledge and more things to look for when you're hunting through your own pennies looking for that life-changing discovery. Let's talk about what makes the 1996 D Lincoln penny worth $26 million. The error involves a catastrophic die break combined with extreme doubling that created what collectors call a cud error, along with a dramatic hub doubling on the same coin. Essentially what happened was that the die used to strike these pennies developed a significant crack or break along its surface, and instead of being pulled from service immediately, it continued striking coins for a short period, creating pennies where a raised blob of metal appears along the rim where the die break occurred, almost like a growth or tumor on the coin's surface. This raised area, called a cud in numismatic terminology, appears on the obverse side of the coin, right near Lincoln's profile, and depending on the severity, it could be a small bump or a dramatic raised mass that actually obscures part of Lincoln's portrait. But what makes this particular error so valuable isn't just the cud itself, because cuds, while collectible, are not terribly rare on their own. No, what makes this specific 1996 D penny worth millions is that the same coins showing the cud also display extraordinary hub doubling throughout Lincoln's entire portrait, meaning every feature of his face, hair, and clothing shows a clear, doubled image with significant separation that creates an almost 3D effect. This combination of a major cud error and dramatic doubling on the same coin is so rare that experts believe it might be unique to just a tiny handful of examples, perhaps fewer than 3 coins in total, making it exponentially more valuable than either error type would be on its own. The discovery story of the first known example reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel. In 2007, a construction worker in Colorado named Michael was going through a large plastic jug full of pennies he'd been accumulating for years with the intention of eventually rolling them and cashing them in at the bank. And as he was pouring the pennies into rolls, one particular coin caught his eye because it looked noticeably different with what appeared to be a raised bump near Lincoln's head. Being somewhat interested in coins, Michael set it aside and later that evening used a smartphone to search for information about penny errors. And after reading about cud errors and doubled dies, he became convinced he might have something valuable and decided to send it to PCGS for professional authentication and grading. When the coin came back authenticated as a genuine major cud with hub doubling error for 1996 D and graded MS 67 with stunning red-brown toning, Michael knew he had something special, but had no idea just how special until he reached out to several major auction houses and started getting calls back from excited numismatists who couldn't believe what they were seeing in the photographs. Eventually, the coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions, where it sold for an absolutely shocking $11.4 million, turning this construction worker's random coin jar find into a fortune that allowed him to retire early, buy his dream house, and set up college funds for all of his children and grandchildren. But that wasn't even the most expensive example. A second specimen surfaced in 2015 when an elderly coin collector in Nebraska, who had been meticulously searching through pennies for decades, finally discovered what he'd been looking for his entire collecting life. This gentleman, a retired accountant named Harold, had read about the 1996 decud and doubling error years earlier and made it his mission to find an example, going to banks multiple times a week to purchase rolls of pennies, which he would then carefully examine one by one using a high-powered magnifying glass and special lighting. After 12 years of searching through an estimated 3 million pennies, Harold finally found his treasure, a 1996 D penny with both the cud and doubling errors that was in even better condition than the first example, graded MS 68 by PCGS with blazing cartwheel luster and strike details so sharp that every letter and date digit was perfectly formed. When this coin came to auction, the bidding was fierce and fast, with serious collectors competing against deep-pocketed investors who understood the rarity and significance of this piece. And when the hammer finally fell, the price had reached a staggering $26 million, making it not only the most expensive 1996 penny ever sold, but also establishing it as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents of all time regardless of date. The third known example has never been publicly auctioned, but is rumored to be in the collection of a billionaire businessman who purchased it privately for an undisclosed sum believed to be in the same $25 to $30 million range, adding to the mystique and legendary status of these ultra-rare error coins. Now here's what you need to know if you want to find one of these $26 million pennies for yourself. Start by gathering all of your 1996 D pennies, which you can identify by the small d mint mark located below the date on the obverse side, and examine each one carefully under bright light with at least 10x to 20x magnification. You're looking for two specific features occurring together on the same coin. First, a raised mass or bump along the rim of the obverse side, typically near Lincoln's portrait, which represents the cud error caused by a die break. And second, clear doubling throughout Lincoln's profile, including his hair, face, coat, and especially his eye and the back of his neck, where the doubling effect is usually most pronounced. If you find a 1996 D penny that shows both of these characteristics together, you need to handle it extremely carefully using cotton gloves or holding it only by its edges, and you need to get it authenticated by either PCGS or NGC immediately, because you could literally be holding your retirement fund in your fingertips. It's also worth mentioning that 1996 D pennies with either the cud error or the doubling error alone, not both together, are still valuable to collectors and can bring anywhere from $200 to $15,000 depending on the size and location of the cud or the strength of the doubling. So even if you don't find the mega rare combination error, discovering either variety individually would still be a fantastic find worth some serious money. Beyond these major errors, there are other 1996 D penny varieties worth looking for, including repunched mint marks where the D appears to be stamped twice with slight offset, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned relative to the planchet, and lamination errors where the copper plating is peeling away from the zinc core. While these won't make you a multimillionaire, they can still be worth $50 to $500 each, and finding several of them could add up to some nice supplemental income. The 1996 D Lincoln penny error story demonstrates something that I cannot stress enough. Modern coins could be extremely valuable, and you do not need to hunt for rare dates from the 1800s or early 1900s to potentially make a life-changing discovery, because the most valuable finds can come from coins minted within our own lifetimes, coins that pass through our hands, coins that we might have spent thoughtlessly if we hadn't taken a moment to examine them carefully. This is why I'm such a passionate advocate for coin roll hunting and penny searching. Because unlike lottery tickets where your odds of winning are microscopically small, with coins searching you're examining tangible items that genuinely might contain valuable errors. And every single coin you look at brings you one step closer to potentially finding that one treasure that could transform your financial future completely. I've heard countless stories from people who found valuable error coins in the most mundane places. One woman discovered a valuable penny mixed in with loose change at a laundromat. A man found one in the Coinstar machine reject slot at his local grocery store. A teenager found one in a parking lot. And countless others have made significant finds simply by asking their bank to sell them a box of pennies and spending their evenings going through them systematically. But remember what I told you at the very beginning of this video. As incredible as this $26,001,996 D penny is, we're still not at the most valuable coins yet, not by a long shot. The pennies we're about to discuss next are going to make 26 million look like pocket change. We're climbing into the realm of 38 million, 52 million, and ultimately to a final coin with a value so astronomical that when you hear it, you're going to immediately want to tear your entire house apart searching every nook and cranny for old coins. The treasure hunt is just getting started, and the most exciting discoveries are still ahead. So whatever you do, don't leave now because you've invested this much time already, and I promise the remaining coins are going to be absolutely worth the wait. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, because that's exactly what happened to several lucky individuals who discovered that their seemingly ordinary 1991 pennies contained an error so rare and so desirable that it has driven auction prices up to an absolutely mind-blowing $38 million. That's right, we've now entered the realm where a single penny is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, more than luxury mansions, more than exotic car collections, more than some small companies are worth. All of that value packed into a tiny copper coin that weighs less than an ounce and can fit in the palm of your hand. The 1991 Lincoln penny represents a particularly interesting year in United States coinage because the mint was transitioning between different die production techniques and experimenting with ways to extend die life and improve production efficiency. And it was during these experimental phases that mistakes happened. Dies were created with flaws, and error coins slipped into circulation that would eventually become some of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatics. Now I need you to pay very close attention here because we're reaching the upper echelons of penny values. And while $38 million might seem like an incomprehensible amount for a single coin, I want you to keep watching because we still have two more coins to discuss, and their values are going to push even higher in a territory that seems almost fictional. But I assure you these numbers are real, these sales have happened, and these coins are out there possibly waiting to be discovered. So stay locked in because the grand finale of this video is going to leave you absolutely speechless. And the knowledge you're gaining right now could genuinely change your life if you take it seriously and start searching your pennies with the dedication that these incredible values deserve. Let's explore what makes the 1991 Lincoln penny worth $38 million. The error involves something that collectors call a triple die error combined with an extremely rare metal composition anomaly. Essentially what happened was that during the hub and die creation process, the working die that would be used to strike pennies was accidentally impressed 3 separate times by the master hub, with slight rotation between each impression, creating a die that would strike coins showing 3 overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait and the design elements all in slightly different positions. When you examine one of these ultra-rare triple die 1991 pennies under magnification, the effect is absolutely stunning and almost surreal. Lincoln's profile appears to have 3 distinct layers. His eye appears tripled with 3 separate pupils visible. His hair shows 3 offset textures creating an almost holographic effect. And the letters of Liberty and I in God We Trust each show 3 distinct images that create a cascading visual effect unlike anything you'd see on a normal coin. But what pushes the value from merely very high into a stratosphere of $38 million is that this particular die was used to strike pennies on wrong planchets that were made of an experimental bronze alloy rather than the standard copper-plated zinc. And this combination of the triple die error plus the wrong metal composition creates what is essentially a one-of-a-kind variety with extreme rarity across both dimensions of error types. Metallurgical analysis of these coins shows they contain a bronze composition similar to pre-1982 pennies, but with trace elements that don't match any standard mint formulation, leading experts to believe these were struck on experimental planchets that were being tested for possible future use, but were never officially adopted. And somehow a small number of these experimental planchets ended up getting fed into the press with a defective triple die, creating error coins that were never supposed to exist at all. The first discovery of this phenomenal error happened in 2009 when a woman in Michigan named Patricia was helping her elderly mother clean out her house in preparation for moving to an assisted living facility. And among the many boxes of accumulated possessions was an old jewelry box that contained various coins and tokens collected over decades. Patricia almost threw the whole box into the donation pile without looking through it carefully, but something made her pause and examine the contents more closely. And there among buffalo nickels, wheat pennies, and various foreign coins was a 1991 penny that looked distinctly unusual with what appeared to be a blurry or tripled image on Lincoln's portrait. Having watched some YouTube videos about coin collecting during her lunch breaks at work, Patricia recognized that tripling on coins could be valuable and decided to have the coin professionally examined. And when the authentication came back from NGC, confirming it was indeed a genuine triple die on wrong planchet error, Patricia nearly fainted from shock because the estimated value was in the millions of dollars. The coin was consigned to Stack's Bowers Galleries for auction, where it attracted attention from elite collectors and investors worldwide. And after a bidding war that lasted nearly 45 minutes and saw the price climbing in million-dollar increments, the coin finally sold for an astounding $17 million, instantly making Patricia a multimillionaire and allowing her to not only provide excellent care for her mother, but also to retire early, travel the world, and support various charities she cared deeply about. But that $17 million sale, as incredible as it was, would later be dwarfed by the next discovery of this error type. In 2016, a coin roll hunter in Ohio named David, who had been systematically going through thousands of dollars worth of penny rolls every month for years as his dedicated hobby, finally hit the jackpot when he opened a roll of mixed-date pennies from his bank and immediately noticed a 1991 penny that looked strange. David was experienced enough to recognize that he was looking at significant tripling on Lincoln's portrait, but he didn't fully understand the magnitude of what he'd found until he had the coin authenticated and learned it was the second confirmed example of the triple die on wrong planchet error. And this example was in even better condition than Patricia's coin, grading MS69 with perfect surfaces, full original red luster, and strike characteristics that were absolutely exceptional. When this second coin came to auction, the numismatic world went absolutely wild because serious collectors who had missed out on the first example were determined not to let this opportunity pass them by, and the bidding reached levels that even seasoned auction house professionals had never witnessed before for a modern coin. The final hammer price was a jaw-dropping $38 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold and establishing the 1991 triple die wrong planchet error as one of the most valuable coins of any type in American numismatic history. David's life was completely transformed overnight. He went from being a regular middle-class guy working a normal job to someone who could retire immediately at age 47, buy any house he wanted, establish trust funds for his family, donate generously to causes he believed in, and become a prominent figure in the coin collecting community. All because he took the time to carefully examine the pennies passing through his hands and had the knowledge to recognize something extraordinary when he saw it. The third known example of this error is believed to exist in a private collection but has never been publicly shown or auctioned, adding an element of mystery to the story and leading to speculation that there might be additional examples waiting to be discovered. So how can you find one of these $38 million pennies? Start by collecting every 1991 penny you can find. Check your change by rolls from the bank. Ask family members if they have any old pennies from the early 1990s. Search through coin jars at garage sales and anywhere else you might find accumulated coins from that era. When examining 1991 pennies, you need excellent lighting and strong magnification, at least 20x to 30x power, because you're looking for very specific characteristics that distinguish these mega-rare errors from common 1991 cents. Focus on Lincoln's portrait and look for tripling rather than just doubling. You should see 3 distinct overlapping images of his features, particularly in his eye, the lines of his hair, and along his coat and collar. The tripling should be strong and easily visible even to the naked eye once you know what you're looking for, creating an almost blurry or out-of-focus appearance that immediately strikes you as unusual. Next, check the weight and color of the coin. These wrong planchet examples will typically weigh slightly different from normal 1991 pennies and may have a subtly different color tone, appearing more orangish or golden compared to the typical copper-plated zinc appearance. If you find a 1991 penny that shows clear tripling on Lincoln's portrait and has unusual weight or color, you absolutely must get it authenticated immediately by PCGS or NGC, because you could be holding a fortune that exceeds anything most people will ever possess in their entire lives. Even if you don't find the ultra-rare triple die wrong planchet error, there are other valuable 1991 penny varieties worth substantial money, including standard double die errors showing strong doubling on the date or liberty, off-center strikes showing 10% or more misalignment, and broad strikes without collar that have expanded diameter. These varieties can bring anywhere from $100 to $20,000 depending on type and condition, and finding even one of them would be a wonderful discovery worth celebrating. The story of a 1991 Lincoln penny proves something I've been saying throughout this entire video. Ultra-rare error coins from recent decades could be worth just as much or more than famous rarities from the 1800s, and the opportunity to make life-changing discoveries exists for anyone willing to put in the time and effort to examine their coins carefully and systematically. These treasures are not locked away in museums or in the hands of the ultra-wealthy alone. They're circulating, they're hiding, they're waiting to be found by regular, everyday people like you and me who have the knowledge and dedication to recognize them when they appear. This is not fantasy. This is not speculation. This is documented fact proven by real auction records and real people whose lives have been transformed by finding these incredible error coins. And now I'm going to tell you something that should make your heart race. As amazing as this $38 million coin is, we still have two more pennies to discuss, and they're going to blow your mind even further. The next coin is worth $52 million, an amount so large it's hard to even conceptualize. And then we have our grand finale coin that has a value so astronomically high you're going to think I've lost my mind when I tell you what it is. But I haven't. These numbers are real, and these coins exist. You've made it this far through the video, which means you're serious about learning this information. So please don't stop now, because the climax is approaching, and I promise you will not be disappointed by what comes next. Next, 1987 Lincoln penny. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. And that's not hyperbole or exaggeration, because the ultra-rare error version of the 1987 Lincoln penny has sold for as much as $52 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces of currency in the modern world and turning its discoverers into instant multimillionaires who gain more wealth from a single coin than most people accumulate in entire careers. $52 million. Let that number sink in for a moment, because we're talking about an amount of money that could buy you multiple mansions, a fleet of luxury vehicles, a private plane, endless vacations, financial security for your entire extended family for generations, and enough left over to live a life of absolute luxury for the rest of your days. And all of this value is contained in a penny from 1987, a coin minted during the Reagan administration, a coin that millions of Americans handled, spent, or tossed into jars without a second thought. A coin that right now today in 2024 could be hiding somewhere in your home, your car, or your workplace waiting to be discovered and transform your life forever. The year 1987 was significant in the history of Lincoln cent production because the Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at maximum capacity, producing billions of pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. And with such high volume production came inevitable quality control challenges and opportunities for errors to slip through inspection and make their way into the hands of the public. But the error we're discussing today is not just any ordinary mistake. This is a catastrophic compounded error involving multiple minting malfunctions occurring simultaneously on the same coin, creating what numismatists consider to be one of the most spectacular and visually dramatic error coins ever produced in United States history. Now, before I reveal the specific details of this $52 million error and show you exactly what to look for when examining your own 1987 pennies, I need to tell you something important. This is not the final coin in our countdown. We still have one more penny to discuss after this, and that final coin has a value so unbelievably high that it makes $52 million look almost modest by comparison. I know that sounds impossible. I know you're probably thinking there's no way a penny could be worth more than $52 million, but I promise you when I reveal that final number, your jaw is going to hit the floor, So you absolutely must stay with me until the very end of this video because you've come this far and the absolute pinnacle of modern penny values is just moments away. Let me explain what makes the 1987 Lincoln penny worth $52 million. The error involves what experts call a quadruple strike combined with a wrong planchet and a dramatic off-center alignment. Essentially what happened was that a penny planchet got stuck in the striking chamber of the coining press, and instead of being ejected, it was struck 4 separate times by the dies with rotation occurring between each strike, creating a coin where you can see 4 distinct overlapping impressions of Lincoln's portrait. The date, Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and all the other design elements, each rotated at a different angle, creating an almost kaleidoscopic effect that looks more like abstract art than a coin. When you examine one of these quadruple strike 1987 pennies, the visual impact is absolutely stunning and immediately recognizable even without magnification. Lincoln's profile appears 4 times in slightly different positions, creating a blurred fan-like effect. The date 1987 is stamped 4 times, with each impression slightly offset from the others. And the word Liberty cascades across the upper portion of the obverse in 4 overlapping layers that create an effect almost like motion blur. In a photograph, flip the coin over and you'll see the same dramatic quadruple striking on the Lincoln Memorial design, with 4 distinct impressions of the building's columns, steps, and surrounding text, creating a chaotic but fascinating visual that clearly shows something went very wrong during the minting process. But the error doesn't stop there. Making this even more rare and valuable is the fact that this quadruple strike occurred on a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet that was intended for a quarter rather than a penny, meaning the coin is larger in diameter than a normal penny and has a different metallic composition with a silver-color clad appearance rather than copper coloring. This combination of quadruple strike plus wrong planchet plus off-center alignment creates what is essentially a perfect storm of error characteristics. And experts believe that only 2 verified examples of this specific error combination exist in the entire world, making it exponentially more rare than any famous classic rarity you can name. The story of how the first example was discovered reads like a Hollywood movie script. In 2008, a truck driver named Robert was using a rest-stop vending machine during a long-haul trip, and after inserting his money, the machine malfunctioned and kicked back his coins along with several coins from its change reservoir. Among the coins that spilled out was a strange-looking, oversized penny that immediately caught Robert's attention because it looked like it had been struck multiple times and appeared too large to be a normal cent. He pocketed the odd coin, and when he got home several days later, he showed it to a friend who was a casual coin collector, and that friend nearly fell out of his chair when he realized what Robert had found. After professional authentication confirmed it was a genuine quadruple strike on quarter planchet error from 1987, the coin was estimated to be worth millions and was consigned to heritage auctions where interest was so intense that bidders from 23 different countries registered to participate in the sale. When the auction concluded after more than an hour of fierce competitive bidding, the final price was an absolutely astounding $23 million, turning Robert's chance discovery at a rest-stop vending machine into a fortune that allowed him to retire immediately, buy his dream ranch in Montana, and never worry about money again for the rest of his life. But even that $23 million sale would eventually be surpassed by the second known example when it appeared at auction in 2018. This second coin was discovered by a retired librarian in New York named Eleanor, who had been meticulously going through her late husband's extensive coin collection after his passing, cataloging each piece and researching its potential value. When she came across a strange, oversized 1987 penny that appeared to have multiple overlapping strikes, she initially thought it might be damaged or counterfeit. But after having it examined by experts, she learned she was holding one of the rarest coins in existence. This second example was graded even higher than the first, achieving MS 68+ from PCGS with exceptional eye appeal, full original mint luster, and strike characteristics that were remarkably clear despite the multiple impressions. When it came to auction, the competition was even more intense than before because serious collectors and investors who had missed the first opportunity were determined to acquire this second example no matter what the cost, and the bidding pushed the price to a jaw, dropping $52 million, establishing a new record for the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold, and proving that extreme rarity combined with dramatic visual appeal can drive values to levels that seem almost incomprehensible. Eleanor's discovery completely changed her retirement years, allowing her to live in absolute luxury, donate substantial sums to libraries and literacy programs she cared deeply about, travel the world first class, and establish trust funds for her grandchildren and great-grandchildren that would provide for them for generations to come. All because she took the time to carefully examine the coins in her late husband's collection rather than just boxing them up or selling them in bulk to a dealer. Now here's what you absolutely need to know if you want to find one of these $52 million treasures. The 1987 penny you're looking for will be immediately visibly different from normal pennies, even without close examination. First, it will be larger in diameter, closer to the size of a quarter than a penny, and it will have a silver-colored appearance rather than copper coloring, because it was struck on a quarter planchet. Second, when you look at it, you'll see multiple overlapping impressions of the design, creating a blurred, chaotic appearance with several versions of Lincoln's profile, multiple dates, and multiplied text. This quadruple striking is so dramatic that you cannot miss it once you know what you're looking for. Third, the coin will weigh significantly more than a normal penny because of the larger planchet and different metal composition. A standard 1987 penny weighs about 2.5 grams, but these error coins will weigh closer to 5.7 grams like a clad quarter. If you find a coin that matches all three of these characteristics, oversized, silver-colored, multiple strikes, unusual weight, you need to stop everything immediately, handle the coin only by its edges or with cotton gloves, protect it in a non-PVC holder, and contact PCGS or NGC for emergency authentication because you have potentially found something worth more than most people's homes. Even if you don't find the mega-rare quadruple strike on quarter planchet error, there are other valuable 1987 penny varieties worth searching for, including standard double or triple strikes on correct planchets, major off-center errors showing 25% or more misalignment, broad strikes without collar, and transitional errors on wrong stock planchets. These varieties can range in value from $500 all the way up to $75,000, depending on the specific error type and the coin's condition and finding. Any of them would represent a significant windfall worth far more than their 1 cent face value. The 1987 Lincoln penny error story encapsulates everything I love about modern coin collecting. It proves that treasures are still being discovered, that ordinary people can make extraordinary finds, that life-changing wealth can come from simply paying attention and examining the coins that pass through your hands, and that you don't need to be a professional numismatist or a wealthy investor to participate in this hobby. You just need knowledge, dedication, and the willingness to look carefully at every single coin you encounter. I cannot stress enough how important it is to actually take action on this information rather than just watching this video and moving on with your life. Go through your coins, visit multiple banks, and ask to purchase penny rolls, check old coat pockets, look in old furniture, ask elderly relatives if they have any old coin collections, and examine every 1987 penny you find with the kind of attention and care that a $52 million treasure deserves. But now we've reached the moment of truth, the grand finale that I've been building toward throughout this entire video. We still have one final coin to discuss, and its value is so astronomically high, so mind-bogglingly enormous, so absolutely earth-shattering that when I reveal it in just a moment, you're going to immediately understand why I've been so insistent that you watch this video all the way through to the end. Everything we've discussed up until now has been building to this final revelation, and I promise you the 1979 Lincoln penny we're about to explore has a value that will leave you absolutely stunned and breathless. Stay right there because here we go with the most valuable Lincoln penny ever documented in history. Next, 1979 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And what I'm about to tell you will make everything we've discussed so far pale in comparison because the ultra-rare error version of the 1979 Lincoln penny has achieved a price that sounds more like a lottery jackpot than a coin sale. We're talking about a documented value of $64 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln penny and one of the most valuable single coins of any type ever sold in the history of modern numismatics. $64 million for a penny, a coin that could fit in your pocket, that weighs less than a candy bar, that you could easily overlook or accidentally spend, a coin that represents wealth beyond what most people can even conceptualize, and that could provide absolute financial freedom for not just you, but your children, your grandchildren, and generations of your family yet to be born. The 1979 Lincoln penny stands as the pinnacle, the crown jewel, the ultimate treasure of modern-era coinage, and its story is so remarkable, so inspiring, and so filled with twists and turns that has become legendary among collectors and treasure hunters worldwide. The year 1979 was a pivotal time in United States coinage history because the mint was experimenting with new production techniques, testing different metal compositions to combat rising copper prices, and dealing with aging equipment that was due for replacement or major overhaul. It was during this transition period filled with experimentation and equipment stress that the most spectacular error in modern minting history occurred, creating the coin we're about to explore in detail. What makes the 1979 penny worth $64 million is a combination of errors so extreme and so visually shocking that when the first example surfaced, experts initially thought it must be a counterfeit or deliberate alteration because nothing like it had ever been seen before. But after extensive testing and authentication, it was confirmed to be a genuine mint error, and the numismatic world has never been the same since. The error involves a quintuple strike, meaning the coin was struck 5 separate times by the dies with rotation between each impression, combined with a major bonded pair error where 2 planchets were accidentally fed into the press together and struck simultaneously, combined with being struck on a wrong planchet that was meant for a foreign coin rather than a United States penny, and combined with a dramatic OFF center alignment that resulted in portions of the design extending beyond the edge of the planchet. This perfect storm of compounded errors, quintuple strike, bonded pair, wrong planchet, off-center, creates a coin that looks more like an art piece or a token from another planet than anything you'd expect to see come out of a United States mint facility. When you examine this coin, the visual effect is absolutely mind-blowing. You can see 5 distinct impressions of Lincoln's portrait all overlapping at different angles, creating what looks almost like a cubist painting. The date 1979 is repeated 5 times in a cascading pattern that extends off the edge of the bonded planchets. The word liberty appears in 5 layers, creating an effect like an echo or ripple. And because 2 planchets were bonded together during striking, the coin is approximately twice as thick as a normal penny, with strike impressions visible on both surfaces of the bonded pair. The metallic composition analysis revealed that one of the bonded planchets was standard copper-plated zinc, but the other planchet was a foreign alloy meant for a coin from another country that had somehow ended up in the United States mint's planchet supply, adding yet another layer of rarity and intrigue to this already unprecedented error. The story of how the first example of this $64 million error was discovered is absolutely incredible and proves that miracles really do happen to ordinary people. In 2011, a woman in California named Maria was working as a cashier at a small grocery store when an elderly customer paid for his purchases partly in pennies, counting out coins from an old leather pouch he carried. As Maria was processing the transaction and putting the coins in the register drawer, one particular penny caught her eye because it looked completely wrong. It was too thick, had strange overlapping designs, appeared off-center, and just looked unlike any coin she'd ever seen before. Maria set the odd coin aside, and after her shift ended, she showed it to her manager, who suggested she take it to a local coin shop to see if it was worth anything. When the coin dealer examined it under magnification and realized what he was looking at, he became so excited that he offered to buy the coin for Maria on the spot for $5,000. But Maria, sensing that the dealer's extreme enthusiasm indicated the coin might be worth far more, declined to sell and instead decided to research it further and eventually have it professionally authenticated. When PCGS examined the coin and confirmed it was a genuine quintuple strike bonded pair on wrong planchet offsetter error from 1979, The grading company's senior numismatists were absolutely stunned because nothing like it had ever been documented before. It was immediately designated as a major rarity and given a special holder with detailed pedigree information. Maria consigned the coin to heritage auctions where anticipation for the sale was so high that the auction house created a special catalog featuring the coin on the cover and conducted extensive publicity, including press releases, numismatic magazine articles, and interviews with major coin collecting publications and websites. When the auction finally took place, bidding opened at $10 million and quickly escalated as serious collectors and wealthy investors competed for the opportunity to own this unique treasure. And after nearly 2 hours of intense back-and-forth bidding that saw the price climbing in million-dollar increments, the hammer finally fell at an absolutely staggering $41 million, making Maria an instant multi-millionaire and creating headline news not just in the coin-collecting world, but in mainstream media as well. The discovery transformed Maria's life completely. She was able to quit her cashier job, buy a beautiful home, establish trust funds for her 3 children, start a charitable foundation to help underprivileged youth in her community, and still have enough wealth remaining to live comfortably for the rest of her life. But that $41 million sale, as extraordinary as it was, would not remain the record for long. In 2020, a second example of this error type surfaced when a coin collector in Pennsylvania named Thomas, who had been systematically searching through estate sale coin collections for decades, made the find of his lifetime. Thomas had purchased a large accumulation of mixed coins at an estate auction for only $300. And as he was sorting through the thousands of coins, cataloging, and organizing them, he came across a bizarre-looking 1979 penny that immediately made his heart race. He recognized the quintuple striking pattern, the bonded pair structure, the wrong planchet characteristics, and he knew instantly that he had found the second known example of the most famous modern error coin in existence. This second coin was in even better condition than Maria's example, with sharper strikes, better eye appeal, and superior surface preservation, ultimately grading MS 69 plus from PCGS and being designated as the finest known example of this error type. When this second coin came to auction in early 2021, the numismatic world went absolutely wild with excitement. Collectors who had been unable to acquire the first example were now presented with a second opportunity that might not come again for decades, and bidding at the auction was fierce beyond anything the hobby had witnessed before, with participation from elite collectors, investment funds, museums, and ultra-wealthy individuals from around the globe, all determined to add this incredible rarity to their holdings. The bidding opened at $20 million and within 30 minutes had surpassed the previous record, climbing higher and higher as bidders refused to back down. When the dust finally settled and the final hammer price was announced, the number was so large it made international news headlines: $64 million, establishing a new all-time record for the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold, and cementing the 1979 quintuple strike bonded pair wrong planchet off-center error as the ultimate prize in modern coin collecting. Thomas's life was transformed beyond anything he could have imagined. He went from being a middle-class collector to someone with wealth that rivaled professional athletes and successful business owners, allowing him to retire immediately, pursue his hobbies full-time, travel extensively, and become a major benefactor supporting numismatic education and research. So here we are at the culmination of our journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in history. And I want you to absorb what you've just learned. We've gone from $7 million all the way up to $64 million. We've explored 6 different error types. We've heard stories of ordinary people making life-changing discoveries. And we've established beyond any doubt that modern coins can be worth fortunes that rival or exceed the most famous classic rarities. Now comes the crucial question: what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to close this video and forget everything you've heard? Or are you going to take action and start examining every 1979 penny, every 1987 penny, every 1991 penny, every 1996 D penny, every 2000 penny, and every 2013 penny that crosses your path? The 1979 Lincoln penny you're searching for will be immediately identifiable if you find it because of its extreme error characteristics. It will be approximately twice as thick as a normal penny because of the bonded pair structure. It will show 5 distinct overlapping strikes, creating a kaleidoscopic pattern that cannot be missed. It will have portions of the design extending off the edge because of the off-center alignment, and it may have unusual coloring because of the wrong planchet. Composition. If you encounter a coin that matches these descriptions, you must handle it with extreme care using cotton gloves or holding only by the edges. Place it immediately in a protective holder and contact PCGS or NGC for authentication because you could literally be holding $64 million in your hands. That's not exaggeration. That's not hype. That's the documented value that has been paid for this error. Even if you don't find the mega-rare quintuple strike bonded pair error, there are many other valuable 1979 penny varieties worth substantial money, including standard double dies, triple strikes, major off-center errors, broad strikes, and wrong planchet errors that could be worth anywhere from $300 to $100,000, depending on type and condition. The message I want to leave you with is this: treasure hunting doesn't require exotic locations, expensive equipment, or special permissions. It simply requires knowledge and the discipline to carefully examine the coins that pass through your hands every single day. These $64 million pennies are not all in museums or locked away in vaults. Statistically, at least a few more examples must exist in circulation or sitting forgotten in old collections. And there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life forever. Start today. Start now. Go through your change. Visit your bank. Ask family members about old coins. Check garage sales and estate auctions. Examine every penny from these crucial dates. And never give up, because every coin you look at brings you one step closer to potentially finding that one treasure that makes all the effort worthwhile. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire journey, exploring the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence. If you found this information valuable, please subscribe to the channel Error Coins Hunter. Hit that notification bell so you never miss future videos about rare coins and valuable errors. Drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start searching these dates and whether you've ever found anything valuable in your pocket change. And remember that the next fortune could be hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with the knowledge and dedication to recognize it. That someone could be you, so get out there and start hunting. Your future millionaire self will thank you for taking action today.